That time of year again, when we want to turn to Belarus, the need there at the orphanage, although the national situation has gotten better, the need at our orphanage actually has gotten greater. Some of you will recall they stopped all foreign adoptions in Belarus, even though at that time they had about 40,000 orphans several years ago, and the president said that it was disgraceful not to take care of their own children. Problem with that is, most of those orphans are social orphans. Their parents are alive and well and living probably just a couple miles away. There's also a widespread practice in Belarus where a young lady having a child at the hospital and doesn't want or can't care for that child, they'll simply abandon them. And I've been in that nursery at that orphanage, and you see an awful lot of infants that are 1 or 2 weeks old. That was my first clue the first time we were there. I said, how's a kid this young become an orphan? And they're just abandoned at the hospital. And of course, their economy over there is not good and has not been good. They have inflation, so all this ties together. So the efforts of the government to increase adoptions has not worked. They have a foster care program that has had some success, and I've put a lot of children in that type of program, which takes them out of the orphanage and puts them into a home situation, which hopefully will be good. They're still orphans, but maybe a little better off. But the problem there is they are able to close orphans. They've closed several of them. But the children who don't make that program get transferred to another orphanage. When we first started working with the baby orphanage there in Mogilev, the head count was 95 to 100, and their rate of adoption, foreign adoption mostly, were 15 or 20 a year. That's now down to about 2 a year, and that's not good. So they now have a lot more children. I'll say it's up around 135, and they have to take care of those children, and many of those children have serious medical problems, from the normal percentage of children born with that type of thing to children born with the effects still from Chernobyl, which still exist over there. So they need a lot of help. I'd say an awful lot of those children have the medical conditions. They're now going to almost full medical staffing 24/7. Which never happened in that orphanage. It was always the medical people were there during the day and a few on call at night. That's changed. Now at the Isle of Hope camp, they continue to increase their facilities at a rather remarkable rate. They're growing. They also are increasing their staff, their curriculum. They're a very impressive operation. When we first started with looking at them and working with them, they were 25, maybe 50 kids a year to camp. And these children are all either orphans or from dysfunctional families. And one Belarusian lady said, that's our secret over here, our deep dark secret. We have a lot of dysfunctional families. And I've had a chance to see a few of those. So they they're now approaching 150 kids a year through camp. And this is the only experience like this these kids will ever have. And it's still just $80 to send a kid to camp. Last year, you gave those kids $3,300, sent 20 children to camp, and we redid about 8 windows in the orphanage. And if you want to understand the extent of that, go look at the picture in the hall and count the number of windows. That's just on the front of that building. There are 4 sides of that building. It's a big building. And I personally looked at those windows when I was over there, and the cold air in the winter, it's got to be something terrible in some of those rooms. So that's a good thing. And even better still, we have an anonymous donor who's not a member of this church, who's become very interested in the ministry. And this gentleman just told me yesterday, as a matter of fact, that he will match whatever you give this month for Belarus. So if you meet the goal that I've set of $4,000 on April 1st, that turns to $8,000. That's 50 kids that came